Here goes. Good morning, welcome to a Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Friday 22nd of September. So, before we get cracking on looking at the charts, let's have a quick look at news events this morning coming out. I say this morning, oops, just refresh that. Today, right, there we go. So we're currently seeing the Bank of Japan conference happening at this moment, and the speakers they're talking about more easing rather than anything else, which is a dovish statement as opposed to the very amazingly hawkish statement they gave for about 4 hours last week or the week before. Anyway, this effectively is dovish and suggests that the yen is going to soften further at this rate. Looking forward to today, or looking backwards actually first, so we understand what's happening in the markets. The Swiss National Bank didn't increase the rate yesterday morning, and neither did the Bank of England yesterday afternoon. So a couple of surprises there yesterday. Surprise day. It's nice to have surprises, but not that type. Anyway, so the pound's coming under a bit more pressure as a consequence of that. This morning we got the key data coming out. We've got the French, German flash manufacturing data coming out. Then we've got the European figure at 9, doesn't tend to move too much. But then we've got at 9:30 we've got the UK data out. So it's a day of data. We've already seen some UK data. Retail sales came in under expectations there. Now I'm sure there'll be a load of reasons for why that's happened, but anyway, so with the yen, got to be careful. Conference still happening, still taking place at the moment, so may see some more volatility around the yen. Other markets we've got to watch out for in the euro for the first 30 odd minutes this morning, and then the pound at 9:30, and this afternoon we've got Canadian retail sales and US services figures, manufacturing services PMI there. So it's quite important, these figures. They've been pretty low, particularly in Europe, particularly looking at Germany, so we could see quite some volatility. Maybe worth being patient. Anyway, let's have a look at these markets. We're starting off with the euro dollar, still obviously for me looking at the downside potential here. Kicking around looking at what we've seen on this 4-hourly chart as we're ending the week, and it's not giving a lot of clues away from that. Daily wise, still looking at this, just checking I've got a daily wise, hourly wise even, but for today we're already on the R1. I was just drawing the trend line across the lows here earlier. Maybe if we see a breakdown of that, we'll get a continuation. In fact, the 4-hourly chart is more useful to me than the hourly at the moment. I prefer 4-hourly charts, and it's sort of showing that sort of we just see the up. You can't see it because I haven't drawn it. Hang on, let me pop it on there. There we go. So there's a little upward chart there. So I wouldn't be surprised. Well, we might get some action coming out by sort of 8:30ish time, start seeing a bit of a guide to where it's going, but you've got to be patient. But I'm still looking at the downside on this. The pound similarly, looking at the downside. Unfortunately, it's looking like it wants to move quite early, but and it might move early, but you see the daily picture here looking pretty bearish, and it's in a solid old trend here. There's some chances to do something. We're sitting here, we've hit the daily pivot. I'm looking at the S1, looking for a break of the lows there. It'd be quite another surprise if we saw the data coming in particularly good later, but at 9:30. But we have got to probably sit on our hands a little bit first thing. Dollar yen, well, yen is weakening, and we're seeing pretty close to new highs being made, near-term highs, not far off it anyway. As the speaker just continues, it seems to have slowed down in terms of the notes that are coming up on my system now, so maybe it has finished. But anyway, we're sitting around the double toppy sort of area, not far off it. We'll see how it reacts, but to me it's just gone too much this morning already. Taking it off the table for now. Aussie dollar, well, the Aussie dollar yesterday, it's put this pivot swing in. That's quite a bearish signal, but it's not triggered it. Would need to break the lows of it, and again we've got this sort of bearish flag kicking through. There we go, bear flag sitting through. It hasn't yet broken through the highs here to give us a higher low, so we'll see how this develops this morning, but it does look on the soft side. Okay, let's see Aussie, US dollar CAD. US dollar CAD, well, the CAD's softened for the last couple of days. Put this higher low in, but coming off a little bit at the moment against the so the CAD softened, the US dollars coming off a bit against the CAD, get the right way around. It has put the lower high in, so a bit of conflict. We've got the higher low and the structural change going to the upside, but then we've got coming down here, we've got potential more downside here. A break of these lows around about 134.60 might just show us the way a little bit. Okay, most of the other markets I'm really struggling to see too much on. The euro yen's pushing up again. Of course, everything's pushing up on the yen side of life at the moment with the data out there. Euro pound yesterday, I was looking at this range it is in. Unfortunately, it just went at the wrong time for me. It just went too early. Went at 10 o'clock, pulled back, then 12 o'clock time it went. It was too late. But this is consolidated. But I could see if the pound, well, it's all ifs and buts at the moment with the news coming out, so probably best avoided. Likes of these cross pairs, Euro Aussie, Euro CAD. I haven't got anything at the moment on either of these. They're just don't like where they're sitting at the moment. So patience is needed. All the yen pairs, they're all pretty much the same. We're just seeing these reversals kicking through at this stage. Everything's beating the yen up. Patience. I'm going to just wait for the news to come out this morning. At the moment, I'm favouring towards this sort of euro, maybe more towards the pound here. Just see if this breaks down post news. Okay, there may be an opportunity to get in beforehand, but I'm not. I'll tread carefully. Right, that's that. Let's have a switch to the markets. Quick look further afield. Then let's just quick look at gold first. Just come up here, real pickledy. As I said, it's still mainly in this wedgie pattern, quite unreliable. It's broken out, pulled back within. It's bear flaggy sort of territory as it sits at the moment. Proper bear flag territory, but for me would need to be below the daily pivot to be on the short side. Okay, crude. So crude, massively big upward trend that we're seeing here, got potential still. I'm looking at Western Texas here, so lower levels of price. It's a bit of a mess here at the moment. I mean, as ever. Well, yesterday it was a change of direction at 2 o'clock. It did push on, but well, 3 o'clock came and it rolled over. A bit messy. A bit surprised that it's a little bit against the near-term trend. That might just be the sort of signal you're sort of seeing a head and shoulder pattern developing here. Maybe some patience needed, but we'll see what happens. That could be still pushing to the upside. Right, equity markets, S&Ps, FG. I haven't looked at them all week, so I'm going to look at them very briefly. CSI 300 still pointing southbound, largely big bullish engulfing today, but it has been selling off pretty much there. The Nikkei gap down, pulled back up a little bit. It's harder work going on there, but we'll see how it reacts on Monday when this press conference is over. Nifty 50 again still in its main bullish zone. Nice bar at the moment. Might be setting something up for the early next week. But the equity markets, looking at it from the North American, the US markets here. Just checking, I've got the daily chart on here. It's all looking a bit iffy. Certainly, we had a continued rollover yesterday. We've seen this sort of European surprises and the dollar strengthening and people hawkish, and we're seeing it coming off it now. It's broken the prior low there. To me, this is a bit more of a bearish signal. We are sitting on the quarterly pivot. A break of that could be a bit more interesting. Just coming down here, just looking at what's going on the shorter time frames here. Again, a little bearish flag sort of coming in at the lows here. Maybe, as I say, a break of that quarterly pivot would be interesting on the downside. Dow Jones, similar-ish picture, but it's away from its quarterly pivot at the moment. I prefer the S&P only to run into its 100, etc., and roll back off there. And at the moment, it's looking quite bearish. We're more keen to be on the downside of this than the upside. Hasn't quite caught the daily pivot on my charts here, but this, as I say, at the moment, this looks like it's got further downside. Just wait until post 8 o'clock and see how that rolls, but certainly looking softer. The FTSE still hanging in around the highs here. It's the interest rates being left alone didn't actually do the FTSE any good yesterday. The market still pretty much sold. Actually, saying that, it did actually have there was the boost it had, but it sold thereafter. But it did get a bit of a boost. I would have expected equity markets to do better out of an interest rate being held, but there is still the sort of the hawkish comments coming, sort of being thrown amongst it all. So there's an expectation yet that we'll see another 0.25% at least increase, probably before the year end. Okay, that's pretty much it for me today. I wish you a great day's trading and a great weekend, and I'll catch you back next week. Just a reminder, there's a link at the bottom if you want to come and join me next week in the trading room itself. Do click on the link and you can sign up for it, and I'll send you details on Sunday. Bye for now. That's that job done.